Hey everyone, so I'm just gonna do some unedited videos from now on. I haven't really had a lot of time to edit. I teach, so all of my teaching is shifted online, so all of that has led to less time and more things going on at home. But I do want to show you what's going on, and there's actually some video footage that I never got edited from weeks ago that I need to post. So I'm going to post those with an apology that they are late and kind of out of order, but at least you'll get to see the most updated version of what's going on here. So let's go check on the chickens, because one of my hens, Narset, as you can hear, she is attempting to crow. Apparently that happens when a coop has no rooster. One of them may attempt to try to crow, and there is a house that has a rooster. There, you hear him. They have a rooster, so the rooster and her kind of crow back and forth, but her crow sounds like a very loud, bop, bop, bop. But we'll go check on them. How you doing, ladies? She likes to try to crow. And they're doing pretty good. Noisy. I've been raking leaves and putting the leaves in here for them to break up, poop on, add nitrogen to, and then I'm going to rake them out once they're coated and put them in the compost pile that I'll show you in a minute. My first big one that I've ever started, so that's going to be really fun. They're still giving me about 4 eggs a day. There's 5 hens in here. So on off days they may have 3, but they've laid all throughout the winter and they've done really, really good. So no complaints here. Winter birds, you might have to watch them more in the summer. Make sure they don't get too hot. Make sure they have lots of shade. But the winter birds, at least around here in zone 7B, 8A, I'm right on the border. It doesn't seem to bother them any to, lay throughout the winter, which is really good. It means I don't have to ever really go without fresh eggs. Even though I get too many and have to give some away, that's always a good problem to have, so. Alright, ladies, let's go see something else. Alright, so next thing I'm going to show you is a bit of a disaster. We had a freak storm, and as you can see behind me, my greenhouse is no more. My greenhouse got torn apart by the storm. I mean, the plastic connectors are actually completely shattered. There's no rebuilding it at this point. I'm going to have to build a new one by the time winter rolls around, if I want to do anything along those lines. But thankfully the weather is nice enough that I don't really need a greenhouse anymore. As you can see behind me is those are tomatoes, and they're able to stay outside now, so it's not a problem. But I did lose almost a full tray of tomatoes, and they were my best growing ones too, because they were already in here when it blew over and broke. So those tomatoes were black creme, and I really wanted to plant some of those this year. But the ones that were left that survived, I think I had like 3 survive. They don't look so good. They took a beating even if they did survive, but it's not so good. But I did manage to save almost all of the herbs. You can see here they are. So I've got lots and lots of herbs. Okra, well, there's okra and peppers in here too. But bee balm, toothache plants. There's some leftover rhubarb, lemon balm, echinacea, St. John's wort, marshmallow, licorice, I'm really excited about the licorice, and I'm kind of bummed that it got beat up when all of this happened. But I hope it survives. Lots of different peppers, nasturtiums that need to go in the ground. Lots of culinary herbs, dill, parsley, that sort of thing. And then those peppers over there are banana peppers, Spanish mammoth peppers, and I think I have some shishito peppers. These are Spanish mammoth and sheep nose pimento. So that's going to be fun. But I think I've got all my shishitos still inside, so they're safe. I kind of really wanted to grow those, but at least they're safe. But I've got them sitting on these cement steps right here to the old building that was here before we moved in. And I think it's starting to rain, so I better hurry up. So here's the compost pile. I'll show you kind of what we have going on here. I took some pallets, took 3 pallets and made like a pen for it so it doesn't go everywhere. I need to put the 4th one on the front so I can continue to load it. I want to fill this thing completely up. Right now it's filled with leaves, hay, spent bedding and hay from the chicken coop, just about anything, old bananas, things like that. It's all going in here. And it's been an experience, but you know what? I'm probably going to end up turning it a couple of times just to speed up the process a little bit, because I need compost. I really need compost. But normally I'd probably just let it sit and maybe turn it every once in a while. But it's really starting to cook on the inside. I already turned it once to get it in this pen. It was over there on the other side. And I'm going to build a second pen so that I can flip it, you know, between the two, or fill both of them up. Who knows? So I'm going to do that, and there's it. I'm going to do that and turn it occasionally to speed up the process. But the inside of it's already breaking down. It's nice and black, so that's really good. It is very bright to be so cloudy out here. Alright, so we have a brush pile. I've been trimming up and trying to reclaim the grown over areas. So that's all got to go. So we're either going to have to make a burn pile or take it to the dump. Our local dump actually recycles this stuff. They chip it down and give it away as mulch, wood chips. We don't have a chipper, and right now this is such a little pile that it really wouldn't do us a whole lot of benefit to rent one. It'd be more expensive, but if we ever took down a tree, sure, we'd probably have it chipped or something like that, or get a chipper. But our local dump will give this to people who need it for free, so they chop it up and reuse it. So here's the garden. Alright, so there's been a lot of changes, so let's see. I still need to build a real gate. Let's see. There we go. Alright, so I want to make sure you can see. Here I have the rows, and my first row has cold weather stuff, and it has gotten way too hot. It's not growing very well. So I may have to rip out a lot of it eventually if it continues to not do well. The peas are definitely complaining. They're turning all kinds of colors in the hot sun, drying out. Beets aren't really doing anything. Lettuce is so-so. Those are very tiny head lettuces normally, so they're not going to get very big anyway, so I'm just kind of experimenting to see what they do. And then I have kale and onions and things and radishes on the end, but again, it's probably too hot for these. And so we'll see if I have to rip it up. I've always got more summer stuff to put in. And then this one, I already did rip up some here. I had planted bok choy and they just got eaten down to nothing as little seedlings, so apparently I do have some pest pressure. Over at the end there's some turnips that are actually doing okay. The spinach is probably going to come out. It's not doing anything in the heat. And then all cauliflower and cabbage is kind of petering out too. They're not really wanting to do anything. This one's the one I'm really happy about. This one is the herb garden. So this has all kinds of culinary herbs and cooking herbs. So again, parsley, cilantro, dill, 4 different types of basil. I'm growing the lime basil that everybody's raving about, and it is really cool. It smells just like citrus. It's really neat. It doesn't taste exactly like citrus, but it smells like citrus. And half of what you taste is smell, so, or more than half maybe. So that will be interesting to cook with later. I'll have to find some dishes that really go with it, that need that citrus kick. Got chamomile in a little patch, echinacea, white sage, feverfew, lemon balm, or bee balm, then lemon balm, then catnip and thyme. So I'm actually going to be using thyme as a medicinal. You can make a tincture with it. It actually is good for a lot of different things, but I am going to use it in cooking too. But thyme is really versatile, and it's a perennial. It'll come back over and over again and just get bigger. I may eventually have to prune over there because they do get really big if they grow really well. And a lot of these are perennial, so I think the only thing I'll have to replace is maybe the cilantro, dill, basil, and I think the feverfew and chamomile, they self-seed, but I'll probably save the seeds myself and reseed them. They might reseed occasionally by themselves if I miss some seeds, but I don't really mind. I'll just pick them up and move them to where I want them to be rather than pull them as weeds. But it'll be really good, and I'm looking forward to the bee balm because that's a type of tea that you can make. So all of these are culinary, medicinal, or ones that you can use in teas or multiple uses. And again, I've got the marshmallow and the licorice, which are also going to go somewhere in the garden, but not here. There's too much sun here. The licorice, or the marshmallow especially, needs a wet environment, so definitely going to have to find a better place for it. I think I've got an idea of where I can put it though. It can tolerate some shade, so I think I know where I'm going to put it. Alright, so the other part that I did yesterday is I planted tomatoes. So here it's already warm enough to put them in the ground. Got some midnight snack cherry tomatoes, some sunrise bumblebee cherry tomatoes, mushroom basket, which is a slicer that I'm really excited about. It's got those pleats in it, or I can't remember what they're called. Pleats. Black Beauty tomatoes, which I'm super excited about. I'm so glad that they did not get crushed in the disaster of the greenhouse. And then my Old Faithful Mr. Stripey, love that one. And then Big Rainbow. Let me see what's down on the end here. Alright, so Chef's Choice Red, Black Creme. Again, I only had one that looked really decent, so I only have one black creme, so I hope it does well. Pink Jazz, I only have one of that right now. I have some more inside, Pink Jazz, and I might be able to plant another row here if I get enough compost to make more rows. I'm filling up the garden with rows as I go, as I can. So by the end of the season, it'll have all the rows it needs, but right now it's only got half, as you can see. There's still some grass down there. So all of this is planted, and over there on the end at the very start is some okra. I've got 2 red bowling okras and 2 Clemson spineless, so I'll show you those. So the Clemson spineless, like I found out last year, is going to be shorter than the red bowling. They're already starting to try to flower. Silly okra, you're too tiny for that. But I was growing them inside, so they might be feeling the strain from having their roots in a pot. So they are doing pretty good, and they're not complaining about the cool mornings or anything like that. So I'll show you the perennials. Let's see. They're doing pretty good. I'll start up at the top, and that should conclude us with all of this, and I can get in before it rains. These are the honeyberry bushes. So it's hard for me to tilt this, but this is a honeyberry bush, and I've got one over behind it as well. Two different varieties. You have to have two different varieties to pollinate well, but the one back there took a beating when we moved, and I dug it up and moved it. So it didn't do so well. It's got, it didn't bloom, basically. The other one did really well, and it bloomed. But again, I don't think I'm going to get berries this year just because of the stress of them moving to a new location. But they're doing really good. They've got tons more leaves here than they ever did at my old place. I don't think they liked the soil there. I think it was too waterlogged all the time. We had a lot of drainage issues with that yard. So here I think is a lot better. We have a slope, and they're not going to get waterlogged, and there's good drainage. So and they do retain, the soil retains a good bit of water, so it's not like they're going to dry out unless we get a drought or something like that. And I put wood chips over them, over their roots, to help with keeping in what moisture they can, but it's not going to waterlog them. They're not sitting in water like they used to be. And there's not as much rocky soil as where they were before. There was a lot of old gravel and stuff in that yard too. So they're really liking it now. Try to show you the blackberries blooming like crazy. So many blackberries. And then this is my comfrey. I planted some comfrey crowns. This is their first year. And then grapes. They're not high enough for me to really build the trellis yet. I'm going to wait until they get a little longer. And then I'm going to put up some T-posts and get some metal washing line. So I got 2 Concords and 2 seedless black grapes or red grapes. Here's the blueberries. I don't know if you can see. They're loaded down with little berries, but some of them are falling off. So I don't know what the deal with that is. And it could be first year moving stress, or it could be the cold snap we kind of had. It kind of freaked them out. They might be freaking out a little bit. But we're going to get some berries. I mean, they're loaded down. So if we get all these, we'll have more than we know what to do with. But I feel like some of them are going to dry up and fall off. They might not have gotten pollinated. I didn't see a lot of bumblebees on them like before. We have bumblebees. I've seen them around. They just weren't on the bushes as much. I'm not sure why. But again, first year stress. My expectations are low. So if we get, you know, a couple pints, I'm okay with that. In between them, I planted some rhubarb. Something's eating it. I think the ants are eating it, unfortunately. And we do have fire ants. I don't know why fire ants would eat rhubarb. Do they eat rhubarb? If you know, put it in the comments. But I don't know why they would eat rhubarb. And but something is eating it and chewing away at it. I would hope maybe the ants are being protective of the plant, and maybe whatever's eating it's getting chased off by the ants. That's always a hope. In that case, ants are okay. But I still don't want them in the garden. They bite me too often. I've been bit more times since I moved here than I ever have, I think. They're just everywhere. So I'm gonna have to put out some bait that's not going to hurt, you know, animals or people. But with some like borax and honey mixed up, they'll eat that, and within a couple days the mound is gone. And borax is pretty natural. I mean, it's not completely natural, but it's definitely better than some alternatives. But I've got my blueberries. There's 5 blueberries planted, and then the rhubarb in between, but that's about it. So we'll go back up, but I'm just getting everything set up, and it's coming together, doing a little bit each day as I can, and just getting everything set up. So thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next video.